You can do that if you want. I mean, there's literally a button in the wizard that I'll show you that says, take everything you've thrown in here and put it in sequential order based on the timestamps of everything. So you could create a minute-by-minute playbook if you choose to organize it that way. It can just be collected based on whatever you want with your topic. So this was the commentary around our keynote speaker. Some of them were me doing the live Twitter coverage. You know, I was acting as a journalist, and I would tweet out the live what I thought were the good quotes here. So this guy he's a customer of IBM that was talking about how he had achieved greater security. So it was a good, it's a tweetable, what we call a tweetable moment for what he said. That's how all keynote speakers are preparing, by the way. Beth is probably thinking, what's going to be tweetable that I can say in my keynote speech?
So in this case, you had a team organized prior to conference to make sure you were collecting this.
Yes.
You didn't just rely on happenstance of people doing this.
Right.
Although
And that's key. That is really key. It's key if you want to do this live, I should say. You could always, like I did with that previous conference, the February one, I did it all after the fact. It was harder. That's harder because then you're going back and you're trying to remember what did that guy say Tuesday morning a week ago after I've been on a Vegas plane ride. So it is easier to try to do it in real time, but it's not necessary. I will say one of the pitfalls of something like Twitter is Twitter has their database. You can only search back so far, unless you're paying them to license the content, right? So when you go to a big conference like this, or like yours, where Beth was a very popular speaker, maybe you had 1,000 tweets, that content's going to age out more quickly. The more popular a topic is on Twitter, the quicker it disappears from your search window. So that's one of the downfalls of you have to hurry up and build one of these stories before that content becomes hard to find. I'm not saying it's impossible to find. I'll show you a way to find it, but it's just a best practice, I guess. So then we had a section we had a keynote speech where it was a panel. So I was on the front row. I took this photo. Somebody recorded it, and I collected quotes from that keynote panel. So really, you could depend, to your question again, you could depend on the audience to generate all this. At a conference as popular as yours, where everybody's so excited about hearing Beth, or they just get jazzed about what she's saying, you're going to get a lot of tweets. You're going to get a lot of, just photos of, here and there. And that is enough to put together your story. So there's really no wrong answer there. I also embed, many times what you see now is people love to take pictures of the slides on the screen, which they always turn out. They turn out terrible. I don't really like them, but people do not stop doing that. So I'll take the best ones if it doesn't look really bad. You know what I mean? So it's good to provide texture. And here's a Sprint case study where with Internet of Things, they're building smarts into the new cars, and we're helping with that technology that manages it. We're also helping like Honda when they like their plant in Atlanta and their plant in Michigan, where they construct all the Pilots and Accord cars. Our software manages all their robots, so the robots that are putting together the cars, and that's considered an Internet of Things technology because all those robots have to be managed. So that stuff it's really geeky, but people love it because it sounds like science fiction. So that's what I try to put into my story. The Honda guy he literally came on stage in a white lab coat. And so that picture, there were 100 people that took that same picture. And he came out, he looked like the guy from he looked like Pat from Karate Kid. He was like this very humble, Asian American who, he said his story was fantastic. He had the tweetable moment of the day probably. He had a notebook where he said, "This is how we used to track the status of my robots."
You mean
Literally a notebook he
pen.
took out of his front pocket on the lab coat. And he said, we used to track things. And then he said, well, but with IBM software, now we've automated all that, and we have a dashboard on my iPhone that shows me red, green, blue status. So that for IBM, we're like, hurrah! You know, we're like, that's an awesome story. So we put that into our Storify. So let's go to the editor, and keep me on track on time, because I don't want to wait. I can talk.
There's a clock in the corner.
Yeah.
When do you want to end?
Which, if we wrap up in about 8:15, I think we're pretty good.
Great, okay.
So you got almost half hour.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah. So there's two things that I'll draw your attention to in the upper right-hand corner. And they've made it so that these exist on every page, no matter what, on the website, on the Storify. Searching. So to your earlier question, you could search Storify to find other people's stories based on your hashtag. Maybe somebody else did like Beth, she did her own story. Or some other service.
If you don't put the hash in, does the keyword search include hashtags?
Yes.
Okay.
That is a little known secret. That even works on Twitter.
Okay. Because a lot of people are looking for, they predict that.
Honestly, hashtags are not all that useful in search. I mean, you can use them, but they're really useful within content.
When you tag, not
Within the content itself. So when you create an Instagram photo and you put a hashtag, it makes it clickable in the app.
Yeah.
And that's all the apps depend on that. That's a navigation. It's navigation within the app. That's why Instagram's so popular now. I mean, them putting hashtags in their captions, it became that becomes viral because it's a way to you're navigating without search.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then, so to get started here, you basically just click on New Story. It's going to present you with this nice editor. It's basically a blank page. And so you've got, I'm just going to create a dummy one. We'll call it, we can literally create an NCTech4Good, just dummy post.
I couldn't find any way to collaborate. So these are it's one editor who owns it. You can't really collaborate with these things, right?
That's right. Unless you do I think the pro account adds the team functionality.
Okay.
Oftentimes with these free services, in general, the team feature is always a pro feature.
Yeah.
So that is your self-explanatory, your title and your description. That's what you end up seeing when you look at this title description.
Okay.
And then it's going to say by you. And then the whole body here, this is like your canvas. Think of this as art. It's a blank canvas. You're going to use all of these buttons to search for content that you want to include. So this is what makes it so simple. You literally are saying, I want to search for some tweets. You click on the tweet button. You use, just like you would in Google or Twitter, twitter.com, you can put a hashtag in here. You can put the NCT4J or T4G.
T4G.
You can put that in here, and it's going to present you a list just like you would see on twitter.com. The difference is you can drag and drop, and boom. It basically constructs it directly from that. So NCT4G. So here is so how long ago was your conference? 2 weeks?
A month now.
No, it's been a month plus.
A month.
So we've just hit the
Threshold.
We've hit the threshold that I was warning you about. So I'll show you how to get around this though. It's very simple to get around it. It's just a little bit more work. But Ruby, I know Ruby, she tweeted out the Storify from Beth. She must have done that. It must have been popular. So popular things stick around longer. But essentially, somebody give me a hashtag they like.